इजराइल पर हमास के 7 अक्टूबर 2023 को हुए हमले का एक साल पूरा होने जा रहा है। इसके बाद इजराइल ने जो ऑपरेशन शुरू किया वो ऑपरेशन अब खत्म होने की बजाय कई इलाकों में फैलता हुआ नजर आ रहा है और अब तो सबसे बड़ा खतरा इस पूरे इलाके के अंदर एक क्षेत्रीय जंग का उठ खड़ा हुआ है, खासतौर पर ईरान ने जिस तरीके से मिसाइल वार किया है इजराइल पर। इजराइल की रणनीति क्या होगी और यह जंग आखिर कब, कहां और कैसे खत्म होगी, इसी मुद्दे पर बातचीत करने के लिए एक बेहद खास मेहमान आज हमारे साथ हैं, भारत में इजराइल के राजदूत रोवन अजहर। वेलकम टू amarujala.com एम्बेसडर।
Namaste, Pranay. Thank you very much for this interview.
Thank you very much to join us. And my first question to you, I would begin by asking that where do you see this operation going on? Because currently the world is worried about a regional war or maybe a world war, because the kind of situation, it is very volatile. It's very explosive situation.
Well, Pranay, we have tried since this atrocious attack on the 7th of October by the terrorist organization called Hamas that attacked us in the Gaza Strip to stay confined to the Gaza Strip, to neutralize the threat of Hamas and other terrorist organizations. Unfortunately, what happened was that in a completely unprovoked way, we were attacked by Hezbollah on the 8th of October, and then by other Iranian proxies with direct orders coming from Tehran. These are attacks that are happening from Yemen by the Houthi proxy of Iran, and then from Iraq by the Shiite militias that are proxies of Iran, and then by the militias in Syria that are proxies of Iran, and by Hamas terrorists in the West Bank. So this multi-front situation is an attempt of Iran to choke Israel. And when we started taking out their proxies, like we did successfully with Hamas and started to do with Hezbollah, suddenly Iran decided to attack us directly, and not for the first time. So the responsible party for escalation is the rogue regime of Tehran, and we have not only the right, but also the duty to confront that, because this unprecedented barrage of ballistic missiles is something the world has never seen and is a flagrant violation of international law.
But Ambassador, Israel is often alleged for the exigencies, or Israel is often questioned the amount and the quantum of response. How would you justify that? Because what has happened Hezbollah has not attacked Israel for the first time, but there was not the barrage of attack from Hezbollah, but the way Israel has started taking out operation and even initiated the ground operation, that is certainly being seen as an escalation. How would you respond to these allegations?
Well, as you probably know, Pranay, and I don't know if you your viewers follow that.
Yes.
Not only that Hamas started firing at Israel on the 8th of October, but also we've been trying for the last 11 months to get to a diplomatic solution in the north. Our goal is to implement UN Security Council Resolution 1701 and 1559 that states very clearly that all Hamas terrorists should leave the area adjacent to the border and withdraw north into the Litani River, which is a few kilometers north of our border. Because Hezbollah has been preparing there a launch pad to attack Israel massively with a network of tunnels, of weapons, of ammunition. Once the efforts of the United States, France, and other countries to reach that ceasefire failed, and when Hezbollah refused to comply with the UN Security Council resolution, only then Israel decided to show force. And this is indeed what happened a couple of weeks ago. So the responsible party for this escalation is Hezbollah and is Iran. We have very definite outcomes that we want to achieve.
There have been statements. Yeah, please go ahead, sir.
Yeah.
Go ahead,
we want, first of all, to allow our residents, the ones we have evacuated, about 70,000 people we have evacuated from our communities in the north, we want them to safely come back home. And they cannot do that when they are being threatened by the terrorists of Hezbollah. So our forces, our Israel Defense Forces, are now taking a limited ground operation that is intended to basically clean up that area and enforce the UN Security Council resolution that Hezbollah is refusing to comply with.
But sir, there have been statements from either side, from Tel Aviv as well as from Tehran. After the barrage of the missile attack, Israel showed the resolve that they are going to get back on Iran and there will be a response. However, on the other side, Tehran initially said that they do not want to engage with Israel in a full-fledged war, but if there is an attack on Iran, they are going to defend. How do you see this situation? Because the entire regional stability depends on, because so far there has been a conflict between non-state actors and Israel, but this is going to be a state-to-state affair. Iran and Israel both have military power, and if they engage, there will be a bigger worry for the world.
Well, this is the mistake that people are making, Pranay, because, Iran has been actually operating all these proxies. They have been supporting them financially, they have been training them, they have been supplying them weapons, advanced weapon systems, even more advanced than those that the conventional armies have, and they have been even exporting the technologies to produce these weapons. So Iran was the aggressor from the beginning, for years and years ago. Now, because we are taking out these proxies that they are using against us, they have decided to attack Israel directly. They did so in April, and then, as you remember, the Israel response was very limited. The question is, Pranay, will a rogue state like Iran, a fanatical genocidal regime that is oppressing their own people, will be allowed to terrorize other states? Should Israel be silent and agree to such a situation? This is completely unacceptable, and it's not only a danger for Israel, it's a danger to the region that is watching very closely what is happening, and they are praying for Israel to succeed in deterring the rogue regime of the Ayatollahs in Iran.
But Ambassador, how would Israel justify operations in the territory of Syria? Because there are recently reports about the Hammam airbase attack was attacked by Israeli Air Force, and this is said to be a Russian airbase, or Russian forces operate from there. So how would you justify this kind of escalation?
Well, actually, Israel has been operating on Syrian soil for quite a few years now, and that is because Iran was trying to create an army of terror, of tens of thousands of terrorists that would attack Israel time and again. And therefore, this is not a new thing. We've been taking out both silos of ammunitions, factories of weapons, and operatives, both from Hezbollah, also militias, and also Iranian Revolutionary Guard Corps officials that are working there. This is completely legitimate. This is something that we do in order to defend ourselves. And when we are being attacked, we are going to retaliate. We are going to defend ourselves. This is something very clear. It shouldn't be a surprise to anybody.
Ambassador, recently, Prime Minister of India spoke to the Prime Minister of Israel, and there was a conversation, telephonic conversation between them on the issue of terror, but as well as there was a call from India about the ceasefire, about the dialogue and diplomacy. Do you see a prospect for dialogue and diplomacy between Israel and the related parties, maybe Iran? Or yesterday, there was a Security Council meeting held on this issue. Do you see a space and scope for diplomacy and dialogue and ceasefire?
Ultimately, there would be a diplomatic result to this situation. And as we've seen in the 2006, there was a resolution, 1701, that was adopted by the Security Council. This resolution has to be implemented. And, people are talking about diplomacy, but you have to bear in mind that the Iranian regime is refusing not only to talk with Israel, but even to recognize Israel. And they have sworn to destroy us. This is a flagrant violation of the UN Charter. There cannot be a situation in the UN in which one country swears to destroy another country. This is completely unacceptable. And if we want diplomacy to succeed, much more pressure should be put on the Iranian regime to change their behavior. This can be done with political pressure, diplomatic pressure, economic sanctions, and even military might when it's necessary. But when you have a situation in which Israel is attacked in such a terrible way, and international players do not behave like the government of India, that has been very clear about our right of self-defense, then you cast doubt on whether diplomacy can succeed. In order for diplomacy to succeed, we need to stand up against aggressors, and especially against the regime in Iran.
But Ambassador, I would like to understand from you that what will happen if Israel exercise some restraint without going for further escalation, if you do not give a response to Iran and let the international parties pound pressure on Tehran not to escalate and, do not promote these organizations, can there be an option like this, or you have to respond militarily on Tehran?
That would mean that each time that Iran wants to attack another state, it will have a carte blanche from the international community. We have seen how Iran has destroyed the Saudi oil industry a few years back. Okay? And we have seen how Iran has been destroying the state of Syria, killing 500,000 people. We've seen how Iran is throwing havoc in Iraq and impeding a situation in which you have a sovereign Iraqi government. You have seen how Iran has been hijacking Lebanon through Hezbollah, and what it's doing in Yemen and in other places. They are trying to topple the Jordanian government. So I'm asking you, Pranay, is not responding to such aggression a menu or a prerequisite for stability? The answer is no. When you have an aggressor like Iran, you have to deter them. You have to show them that this kind of conduct is completely unacceptable. And therefore, as I said, we not only have a duty, a right to retaliate, but also we have a duty to do so.
Definitely, you have a point on that, Ambassador. But if you see the 1 year of it, because we are almost at 1 year of the 7th October attack on Israel, you initially started that operation by saying that you want to dismantle Hamas forever and you do not want to let Hamas exist and pose a threat for the Israeli people, and also to get your people free, those who have been taken hostage. Where do we stand? Where does the world stand on that resolve? Can you say that Hamas infrastructure is totally dismantled, and how many people you have got back?
Well, as you know, Pranay, we have completely destroyed the Hamas army in the Gaza Strip. There were 24 battalions of terrorists, which we completely destroyed. We destroyed hundreds of kilometers of tunnels, of factories of missiles. As we see today, there's no longer a threat of missiles being fired from the Gaza Strip to the state of Israel. We have managed to bring back 150 hostages. We still have in Gaza 101 hostages. That is a very, very precarious situation. We are putting pressure on Hamas to accept a deal that was actually a path that was agreed upon by Israel, the United States, and other countries, by the UN Security Council. Hamas has refused to do so because, you know why? Because they want to prevail as a terrorist state in the Gaza Strip. They want to rearm, regroup, and reattack Israel again, like they did on the 7th of October. We are not going to agree to that. And therefore, we have the resolve and the determination to continue attacking the Hamas terrorists. Only today, we were informed that another senior terrorist, the right hand of Sinwar, has been taken out by the Israel Defense Force.
Ambassador, last question. Soon, there is going to be a BRICS meeting where the Iranian president would also attend. President of Russia, President of China, and including the Prime Minister of India would be there at the BRICS summit in Russia. As a partner, as a strategic, friend of India, what do you expect India to take up issue as far as this issue is this matter is concerned? Because the Iranian president would also be there, and there will be a discussion about the Middle East situation.
Well, to be frank with you, the Iranian president is not very influential. He is a puppet that was put there by Khamenei in a kind of orchestrated elections in which most of the real candidates that would represent the Iranian people were actually refrained from even running. And the real decision maker in Iran is what they call their supreme leader, Ayatollah Khamenei. So actually the presence of this president in the BRICS is going to have no meaning whatsoever.
So that's why you think that there could be a possibility, the way Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu spoken directly and issued a statement in Persian and trying to speak directly to the Iranian people. Do you see a possibility or are you working on a regime change kind of a plan in Iran? Because the world has seen that statement in that context.
Well, we don't have an operational plan of regime change in Iran, as we don't have an operational plan of any regime change in our region. We are not interfering in trying to shape politics in other countries. However, and this is very important, Pranay, we recognize that the Persian civilization and the Iranian people are against this regime, and they want freedom, and they are friendly to the state of Israel. And we have the right to communicate with them, to tell them that this regime that has been oppressing them is like a thin shell that eventually will collapse. And it will collapse not because of Israel. It will collapse because of the will of the Iranian people that want to be free. And we all have to call and support the Iranian people and their quest for freedom.
But Ambassador, all the hostilities will cease if there will be a solution, which is a 75-year-old problem, Israel and Palestine as two states. How is the progress on the two-state solution? What are the talks? What is the mechanism which is likely to be worked out?
Well, we have been walking backwards for one reason. It's because the Palestinians have been radicalized by Iran and other players in the region that have an agenda of non-acceptance of not only Israel, but non-acceptance of moderation, non-acceptance of other civilizations. And they have this fascist ideology that is preventing a situation that we can have peace with our neighbors. We've been trying time and again, and we've negotiated peace with Palestinians many times because we want them to rule themselves. But they have to be ruled by a government that will be dedicated to building their own country and not for a situation in which the only thing that they are doing is trying to destroy Israel.
Ambassador, in the last, there have been protests in India, including in Kashmir, in support of Hezbollah and Hassan Nasrallah. Did you raise this issue with the government of India, or have you noted this, or do you have any concern regarding this? Yes.
Well, we are following the situation. We know that there's a minority in India. We also have a Muslim minority in Israel. We are not seeking advice from other countries of how to deal with our minorities, and we are not giving advice to the Indian government how to deal with their own population.
Thank you very much for having this conversation and sparing time for us. Thank you very much, Ambassador.
Thank you very much.
अगर आप ये वीडियो YouTube पर देख रहे हैं तो हमारे चैनल को सब्सक्राइब कर बेल आइकन दबाएं, और Facebook पर देख रहे हैं तो हमारे पेज को लाइक करें। 8 मिलियन प्लस सब्सक्राइबर, आपके इस भरोसे के लिए बहुत धन्यवाद।